What's up, y'all? I'm Onyx Nova. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit that post notification bell. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that post notification bell so you can be notified every time that I post. I have not done this in forever, but I felt the need to come back on here and chat with y'all a little bit because I have been feeling a lack of motivation to record videos. I haven't recorded a video in months now. And so I figured, I don't know what happened. I was going through my notifications on YouTube and I saw that I had comments on some of the other videos that I made about Roadmaster and the ones that I made about Warner. And there were legit questions that people had to ask as far as drug testing, as far as aid for school, as far as how did I pay for school, and what to expect as far as the entry into the school. So I figured I'd make a video real quick, just letting you guys know about the drug testing procedures, about the, I don't know, maybe the med card procedure, about the restriction that may be on your license if you go through Roadmaster and things like that. Some of that stuff is not outlined for you when you start applying for schools or when you start inquiring about schools. And a lot of the times the advisors, they don't give you certain information for whatever case may be, out of fear that you might not want to go to their school. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I know. If you have any more questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comment section down below, and I can't promise I'll get right back to y'all because I'm still learning how to do this whole YouTube thing on the days when I'm doing YouTube, which is almost never now, but I try my best. If I see them, I'll try my best to give you answers. I found myself answering the same question over and over again, so I figured I'd make a video for it. The Roadmaster school that I did go to was down in Savannah, Georgia. At the time, they had not been open for a year yet, so I could not test in Savannah. As of right now, as of December just passed, they were open a year. So now they have instructors or people that can give you administer the test at their facility, and it's legal. So what the procedure is as far as getting your hard copy of the test down in Georgia, if you live in Georgia, is a lot of times when you test in Savannah or when you test elsewhere and you have to go back to Georgia to provide the DMV with your paperwork, all of your paperwork, your med card, your certification that you went through school, your certification that you passed your test, your basically your transcripts, that's your proof that you went through school and that you passed your test. They'll then give you a paper copy of your license until you receive the hard copy in your mail. So you won't get the hard copy of your license in Georgia on that same day because for some reason Georgia doesn't do that. Even when you get a permit in Georgia, you get a paper copy of your permit first, and then they'll mail you the hard copy of your license. However, your license is still very much valid. Even if it's on paper, you just have to keep that paper with you until you receive the hard copy. For people who go to, I don't know about an Orlando location. I saw that was one of the questions. Do they have an Orlando location for Roadmaster? I'm not sure. When I chose Savannah, it was because I was living in Savannah, so it was convenient for me. However, I did know about Jacksonville because I had family members who went to Jacksonville, and of course, that's where I tested at because it was the closest facility to Savannah. So in Jacksonville, if you go to their school, you test on that site. They have somebody on the Roadmaster site that can administer your test. You do not have to go to the DMV to test. As far as the permit, if you get the permit before you go to school, that will jumpstart you 3 to 5 days ahead of your class, because the first week of Roadmaster, you spend your time doing your onboarding paperwork for school, all the legal stuff, and then you go through and you do their permit. They start giving you the practice test and the practice questions for your permit test. But if you go in with your permit, you don't have to worry about all of that. All you do is for the first 2 days, two and a half days, you do your onboarding stuff, the legal paperwork, and then from that point forward, you go on what they call the pad, which is where you start learning the parts of the truck, the pre-trip information. So it's a great flex to go ahead and get your permit before going to school, because the more time you can spend on the pad, the more time you can spend getting to know the things that you need to know about that truck. And the more time the quicker you'll be able to get on the road. And if you need more drive time on the road, sometimes when you have more time, as far as the days that you didn't have to spend in the classroom, it could help you as far as giving you a little bit more time, driving time. Of course, you only have a certain amount of hours that you have to meet per school by school regulations. Before you can test, as far as for your pre-trip, as far as for your backing and your maneuvering, your alley docking, your offset, and as far as your driving on the road. You have to have a certain amount of over-the-road drive time before you can go and take the CDL test, or before they can give you the CDL test. So if you go in with your permit, that kind of helps you jumpstart that process a little bit further, because you don't have to spend that time in the classroom. As far as the drug testing when going to Roadmaster, Roadmaster itself does your analysis. However, if you let them know, because before you even get to Roadmaster, they're going to automatically already be trying to set you up with a job. So your first option most likely is going to be Warner. They're probably going to give you Warner, Mays. They're not going to give you Swift, because Swift and Warner are like rivals for whatever the case may be. But it'll probably be Warner, Mays Driving School, and it's like a couple others that they'll try to set you up with. According to that company that they're trying to set you up with will determine what your next drug test will be like. So because I chose Warner at that time, my drug test for Warner was a hair follicle. So when I went to Roadmaster, before I could even go to school, they gave me a urinalysis and I had to go get a hair follicle test. Mind you, if you let them know off the bat that yes, I have, don't tell, if you smoke now, don't tell them you smoke now, because you about to be you won't go to school, that's for sure. You can tell them I quit smoking in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and it may still be in my system, so I'm not sure if I'll pass the hair follicle test, but I know I can pass the urinalysis. And they'll tell you, okay, well, these are your options. Or you could tell them, well, I'm not interested in going to Warner. I'm interested in going to another company that you may offer, but I know for a fact I can't pass that hair follicle. They'll put you in play or align you with certain companies that could take you, because their hair follicle test goes back 3 months. So if you know you've been dirty in the last 3 months, there's no need for you to even try to take that hair follicle test. But there are other options. If you know you can pass the urinalysis, but you can't pass the hair follicle, you're not completely out of the loop, if that makes sense. Tuition. When it comes down to tuition, this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to make the video, because I didn't want you guys to get suckered into thinking you were going to be, because I remember hearing at one point if you go with a company and they got to pay back your tuition reimbursement, you're locked into a contract. There are no contracts in trucking unless you specifically sign on an op contract or independent contractor contract type deal. Other than that, there is no contract. Even if, like, say for instance, I went with Warner, they said, okay, we'll do tuition reimbursement. As soon as I went with Warner, they started doing the tuition reimbursement because I got a student loan to pay for my schooling. If I would have paid out of pocket, it would have been $5,000. I had the $5,000 to pay it, but I'm like, that was too much money coming out of my account at one time, and I just was not willing to take that plunge in my account. I wasn't in a financial predicament where I could take that plunge to my account. So I did a student loan. So instead of $5,000, I had to pay $7,000. As soon as I went with Warner, Warner picked it up. They started paying back the tuition reimbursement. However, that tuition reimbursement does come out your paycheck. They tell you, no, it don't, they lying. It does come out your paycheck. When you look at your paycheck, it tells you such and such amount went to your tuition reimbursement. It tells you $125, usually what it was, will go to your tuition reimbursement every week or once a month or however they would do it. But I got a student loan. Warner did pick up the tuition reimbursement. As soon as I started working for Warner, I became responsible for the tuition. I became responsible for the repayment of the tuition. So as with any student loan, you are responsible for the repayment of that student loan. The interest on it is already concrete and evident. You're going to pay $7,000 back. That's what you're going to pay back on the $5,000 loan. So that's that. However, there are other options other than a student loan to get tuition's aid for truck driving school. There are grants that you can get. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can still use the Pell Grant. If you've never been to college before, the Pell Grant is available to you. You can use the Pell Grant. You can do personal loans. Like, you can go to a loan company out here and say, I'm trying to go to CDL School. They're going to ask you for some collateral like you would typically do if it was any other loan, and you go with that. And then you'll start a repayment process with them, however that works. I'm not sure how that repayment process is because I did the student loan process through the student aid gov, federal aid, whatever that thing was. It's the federal government that I did my student loan with. So, yeah, that part. But don't let those companies sucker you into driving for them with the assumption that you have to give them 2 years of driving experience, or you have to give them 2 years worth of work or a year and a half worth of work in order for them to pay that full tuition. If you're okay with that, fine. But you don't have to. You don't have to do any of it. Yeah, I'm fanning that. So I'm outside in the country. But don't let them make you think that you have to pay, that you have to work with them to constantly to pay them back all that money, because you don't. If you choose to leave, you can go with them now, and 6 months later you say, okay, well, I don't think this is gonna work for me. You can leave, but the rest of that tuition is it's on you, and they're gonna report that to the credit bureaus. So you're responsible for that repayment of that student loan. However, if you've never had a college degree, you don't have a felony on your background, and you don't have a drug charge, I think. Some states do provide you with like a WIA program, or you can go through the workforce center in your local city or whatever, like the unemployment office. They have programs that you can go through as well that will give you aid for a truck driving school. Even if you can't afford to go to Roadmaster, there are other options for you. You can go through the WIA program or the workforce, whatever, I forgot what it's called. But they provide assistance for people, or they'll put you in school for you to get your CDL. However, I'm not sure if their programs are 3 to 5 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, or whatever it is. I do know Roadmasters, obviously they've changed, because at one point it was like, oh, it's 3 to 5 weeks. Now it's like it's 4 to 5 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. But some of those companies are not like that. Some of those schools are not like that. Sometimes you have to go 6 months. So personally, I'm not about to sit on nobody trucking school for 6 months. You ain't got that much to teach me. Not for no 6 months. I'm over that. No, you can't. But as far as tuition reimbursement, yeah, that's an option. Student loans, federal Pell Grants. If you can afford to pay out of pocket, do that. If you can pay half one time, half the next time, do that. People say, oh, I don't want to get the student loan, but you gotta think, you're gonna be to make, I don't even know how much more money than what you got in that student loan. So I mean, it's a small sacrifice for a major gain. But it's completely up to you. You know your pockets, I don't. What else was it? That's all I can think of. I think that's all the questions I saw. Most of the questions were about the drug test, because that's the thing with a lot of people nowadays. If you drive truck, you cannot do drugs. That's what they would like to. That's what the people say, that legally you're not supposed to do drugs. However, I know several people who drive truck and they are avid weed smokers. Myself personally, I just can't do it. I don't know how to inhale the shit, so can't get me there. But most of the questions were about the drug test. A lot of these places do hair follicles, and they'll go back 3 months. Yeah, I think I covered everything that I saw in most of those questions that you guys had. Yeah, I think that's it. If you have any more questions, you can drop them down in the comment section below. If I have any answers for you, I'll get them to you. If I don't know, I'll figure it out for you. Hazmat endorsements and all the hazmat and tanker and all the other endorsements. I do not have my hazmat or my tanker endorsement yet, but I do plan to get them. However, the laws have changed. Excuse me. When you get the hazmat and tanker endorsements now, there's a small class. There's like I think it's like 2 to 8 hours class that you have to go through before you can even test to get your hazmat and tanker endorsements. So keep that in mind when you're going through school and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get them all. Because listen, baby, you want them all. I do. I want them all too. I do. I ain't even put the first foot forward to get them yet. But I have to. I'm going to, because it's beneficial to me. It opens the doors for a whole bunch of other stuff. If you're in Georgia, get you a TWIC card. It is the best thing for you. The best thing that you can do in Savannah, in Georgia, if you plan to do local routes, or if you plan to go on an op at some point or another, get you a TWIC card, because that is your gateway to the ports. That is your gateway to a whole bunch of those other places that requires you to have a TWIC card. And you can get top paying loads and top paying jobs when you have a TWIC card. That's just my advice to you. If you live in Charleston, South Carolina, anywhere there's a port, we call it Port City, get you a TWIC card. You cannot go wrong with getting your TWIC card. What else? I know as soon as I get off this video, I'm gonna think of something. But I mean, if I missed it and you have a question about it, feel free to ask me down in the comment section below. For more videos like this, give this video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch y'all in the next video.